Let's talk about Bard. Bard, the caretaker. Let me pull up his universe page. So I'm just going to go through his lore very quickly so you guys can understand who Bard is, what he's about, and what makes him an interesting character for sure. Because he just got introduced to Wild Rift, so I thought it'd be cool to talk about his lore for those that don't know. So Bard is an ancient celestial entity whose experiences the universe not as a visual tapestry of stars, but as a grand cosmic symphony. He wandered the silent cosmos until the birth of the first stars filled it with music, accompanied by small spirits called meeps, which are drawn to his own harmonious voice he revealed in the celestial opus. So I want to point this out. When they're talking about the stars, they're talking about Aurelian Sol. Aurelian Sol created all of the stars in the cosmos of Runeterra. And in like a side effect of creating those stars, he created the meeps. They're small spirits called meeps. They're the cutest thing ever. Let me pull up a meep. Meeps are very cute, guys. Okay, that's a meeps too, but these are meeps. This is what meeps look like in Runeterra. Those are meeps. Meeps. So yeah, those are meeps. And the important thing, I'm still at work, but you explained very good the lore, and I don't want to miss this. Well, I'm probably gonna push all this stuff, like the sections of it, to YouTube. Oh, I gotta update. We're on the next section. We're talking about Bard lore. I gotta update the stream. I'm glad. Thanks, Radu. But yeah, so Bard's running around, seeing all these meeps that are leftovers from Aurelian Sol. And however, a dissonance began to corrupt the universal harmony. Bard traced the destructive sound to the world of Runeterra, the world's own chaotic and primitive song driven by immortal life and unknown magic, was beautiful in its own right, but was beginning to threaten the cosmic balance. So what does Bard discover in Runeterra? I honestly think that it's, where is the map? I honestly think what Bard's hearing is the void. Like, it's a cosmic dissonance. It definitely is the void. The dissonance began. So Bard is floating around in the cosmos. No, I want this live. Great. Thanks, Radu. So the dissonance that Bard is hearing is definitely the void portion of Runeterra. I can talk about the void a long time, but all you have to really know is that the void is like the opposite of our existence. There's separate planes. There's the celestial realm, which is like space and stars. There's the material realm, which is the literal world of Runeterra. Then there's an opposite realm, completely separate from us. I mean, if I wanted to show you guys it, I would just pull up like a black screen, black square. Or I can show you, let's pull up a picture of the Watchers. So these are void entities that literally crossed into the material realm and the Freljord. That's a whole story. That's a bag of worms we can't get into. But there's definitely a lot of void involvement in Runeterra. We talked about Acathia and the Void War. So the void exists in Runeterra, it's there, and that's a dissonance that began to corrupt the universal harmony. And Bard traced that sound to the world of Runeterra. So I don't think like the whole cosmic universe is having problems with the void. For some reason, it's very specific to Runeterra. Even Aurelian Sol, who created every single star in the cosmos, you know, there's definitely multiple worlds, which is mentioned in his lore, in the cosmos, like aspects affect things on different worlds. But even Aurelian Sol acknowledges that there's something about Runeterra, and the aspects acknowledge something about Runeterra. But to investigate, we can pull up Bard now, because we're done with the Aurelian Sol part. Bard. So to investigate, Bard descended into the physical realm in Ionia, and created a body for himself from a musician's wagon. He discovered the numerous powerful and dangerous artifacts were misplaced throughout Runeterra, causing the disruption. Believing another celestial power may be responsible, Bard took on the role of the wandering celestial caretaker. He now travels the world, retrieving these stray items to prevent them from causing further harm, and restore balance to the universe's song. He foresees a great multidimensional conflict on the horizon, and knows he will eventually have to choose a side. So, the choose a side thing, I'm going to touch on that a little bit, but that's why Bard looks the way he is. He just grabbed a bunch of stuff from a musician's wagon. Bard is really like a bunch of, like he is a celestial. Like his form is kind of probably more in line with, so Bard is probably more like this. The difference between Bard and the other aspects, these other like aspectual people that float around in the stars, whatever, is that they all take on an aspectual host to come down to Runeterra, compared to Bard, who came down and just grabbed a bunch of junk off of a musician's wagon. and use that to create his form. So I always thought that was really interesting about Bard, and kind of like shows how powerful he is. It seems like he's a bit more powerful than the other aspects. The world before the Big Bang equals void. Yes, that's a really good way to put it. The void was there, and the Big Bang in the case of us in Runeterra, like the material realm existed, but Aurelian Soul was kind of floating around in the nothingness. Like Aurelian Soul was around before any star ever existed. And so just out of boredom, he decided to paint the tapestry of the cosmos with the stars. And those stars really bothered the Watchers who were in the void realm. It woke them up. They liked their slumbering in the nothingness of existence. Yet when Aurelian Soul started creating stars, it was too much light. It was too much light, too much action going on. And so that's why they want to destroy the universe as we see it, like the universe that we live in. The void hates existence because it woke them up from their slumbering nothingness, and a lot of that has to do with Aurelian Soul. So if we ever battle the void, we're going to want Aurelian Soul on our side for sure. But yeah, so you have I was talking about the Celestials, there's a ton of them. Aurelian Soul is kind of a notch above all of them, but yeah, there's like this Golden and Silver Sister, there's a ton of them. Bard is one of them, but a lot of them need an spectral host to descend into Runeterra, and Bard doesn't. So that's a really important note. But what's really important about Bard is this last part where it says that he has to choose. He foresees a great multi-dimensional conflict, so definitely the conflict between the Void Realm and our realm, a conflict on the horizon, and knows he will eventually have to choose a side. What the heck, Bard? I cannot imagine this guy being like supporter of the Void. So I like to think that he already chose our side, but hopefully he will, I guess. I didn't realize we were up for grabs. The next thing is the Bard color story, Testimony of the Balladeer. This story is the testimony of a man known as the Balladeer who is on a quest for the wandering caretaker, Bard. He recounts a stormy night when he saw a small floating creature, a meep, magically drawing the essence from his family's ancestral wind chimes, which were forged from rare Freljordian war metals. In an effort to save the chime, he grabbed it and was violently pulled into the heavens. There he met Bard and was transported to the celestial realm. His mortal body was transformed into a spirit, a meep, and for a century he served Bard. I mean, this is still canon. This is canon lore, technically. It is, really. And you could see a great picture of a meep in the cover art for the story. Freaking Bard can make meeps, and not only that, you can turn a person into a meep. I'm a little confused on that, because Bard literally is floating around all of existence, sees these meeps, and is very intrigued by them, and they're side effects of Aurelian Soul's sons, and yet Bard can turn a mortal into a meep. Bard is way more powerful than he initially seems. What's up, Jen? Bard has definitely got something going on. The guy's mortal body literally transformed into a meep, and for a century he served Bard, experiencing the cosmic symphony of creation firsthand. This peace was shattered when they encountered a terrifying silent darkness, the Void. The Balladeer witnessed the Void crack a metaphorical world bell, which represents Runeterra, shattering it into countless fragments, the chimes, that shattered across the land. So they actually come in contact with the Void on this journey. And then right after that, he returns to his mortal form. The Balladeer is now tasked, I mean, not like immediately, we'll say after that. Okay, he returns to his mortal form. The Balladeer is now tasked by Bard to travel the world, warning of the coming threat and collecting these lost fragments. He believes that by gathering these chimes hidden within precious metals, he can help Bard reforge the world bell and save Runeterra from being silenced by the Void. The story ends with him unsuccessfully pleading with a Demacian to hand over their metals to aid his cause. Guys, this is huge. This is one of the biggest pieces of lore in all of Runeterra lore. Think about it. He returned to his mortal form, and what does Bard set him to do? This apparently world bell that the Void cracked, then split it into a bunch of chimes. But he literally went through this whole process, bringing up this Balladeer to the cosmic realm, showing him all of the cosmos, showing him the Void, and then sending him back to the material realm and making him go and collect these chimes hidden within metals. so that he can help Bard reforge the World Bell. The World Bell is important. I would say Bard is as strong as Aurelion Sol. You can definitely make that claim. I'd say Aurelion Sol and Bard are two of the most powerful beings in existence that we know of. We don't know of anyone stronger. The difference between Bard and Aurelion Sol is that Aurelion Sol, we've literally seen him fight the Watchers directly. Aurelion Sol has a color story where the Watchers are kind of seeping into the material realm, and he pretty much creates a sun and just destroys them. Like the Watchers, the Void Watchers from the actual Void cannot touch Aurelion Sol in the material realm. In the Void, yeah, they could probably kick Aurelion Sol's butt, but in the material realm, Aurelion Sol destroyed them. We haven't seen like a actual one-on-one fight or even like any kind of fight with Bard. He seems powerful in like everything that he's done, and so I would put him up there for sure. Like 1, 2. I think he's maybe number 2 right behind Aurelion Sol, but he hasn't like proved himself. He just does things that seem very powerful. But yeah, the story ends with him unsuccessfully pleading with the Demacian, the Balladeer, to hand over their medals to aid his cause. This is like a first-person narrative perspective from Balladeer's perspective, which comes from the story as well and makes the threat of the Void feel immediate and terrifying rather than like this distant and theoretical thing. And this World Bell is real. The Balladeer witnessed the Void crack a metaphorical World Bell. It says that it's metaphorical in the story, which represents Runeterra. And so what is this World Bell and how are all these chimes tied to it? It's a little confusing. Like he cracks this metaphorical World Bell, which represents these chimes that are scattered all over Runeterra. And now Bard sends him to collect all the chimes. I have a couple of theories. Honestly, this is one of my favorite stories just because it leaves so much open. The ingot and the collectors. So the ingot, the war metal that is used in those chimes, I don't think it's ordinary. It's likely infused with some magical or celestial property, and that these metals may inherently contain fragments of Runeterra's World Bell, the metaphorical World Bell, which is why they react to celestial magic. And the Balladeer's ancestors, who he states are the collectors, may have been subconsciously drawn to these specific metals, acting as like guardians of the world's harmony. They didn't even know that they were doing it, but they were. Another thing that I thought was with the Balladeer as like a celestial bridge. So if we ever have a Riot MMO, I definitely think the Balladeer is going to have a part to play in kind of when it comes to the Void and maybe like a pre-Void event. Like the Balladeer's transformation into a Meep is huge. And then back was not like an accident. I feel like it's a necessary process to make him, one, Bard's agent on Runeterra, but then also our connection into the Celestial Realm in a mortal form that's not just some like aspect. One thing that I thought was interesting too is that by becoming a Meep, his soul was automatically attuned to the Celestial Symphony, allowing him to perceive the cosmic stakes in a way that other mortals can't. So, I don't know, Meeps, there's something going on with Meeps. And then he now, yeah, definitely that unique bridge between the Celestial Realm. The last thing that I want to point out for this story for sure is that the anti-symphony of the Void. So the Void is not silence or an absence of sounds, it's like an active force with its own music, it seems like. So as the Balladeer described, it's a song of anti-symphony of entropy that has no start, it only ends. So instead of creating, the Void's music actively unmakes and corrupts reality, directly opposing Bard's symphony of creation. So this frames like a conflict as a battle between two opposing cosmic orchestras rather than like one orchestra and silence. That I thought was really cool. So that's Bard. I mean, if you guys have any questions about Bard, I could talk about Bard a lot more. And then I want to go through his Legends of Runeterra cards and his Mystic Vortex. And then we'll talk about the cinematic, Bard Mountain, and the Wanderer above as well. Bard's a really cool character. There's so much lore for Bard. Okay, so the cool thing about Bard's Legends of Runeterra cards is that it's being told from an old gaff. It's like his tale. So old gaff, seen his share of strange. First time was the caretaker himself, I reckon. Like a star streaming across the sky he was. Felt like the whole world stopped a minute, and it was just me and him. So old gaff is saying that he actually met Bard. And you can see in this art, there's Chip and there's Zolani, who we talked about. I'm not sure about this back photo, but there's a couple meeps in there. Bard's art is so cool. Then we go to the next one. Sound the horn for the young and old. Sound it loud for all to behold. Kings bow down and sing their praise to the caretaker and his curious ways. So yeah, this is just like a poem of the old Gaff telling about Bard. It's a Runeterra ballad, so it's not like unique to him. And then you have, this is interesting, Bard's Traveler's Call. So songs tell of Bard hiding chimes amongst the towns of Runeterra, said to raise spirits and inspire spontaneous bouts of joyful dance. I don't think that's just a coincidence. So here we're mentioning the chimes again, which is why I went through that whole story. Songs tell of Bard hiding chimes amongst the towns of Runeterra, said to raise spirits and inspire spontaneous bouts of joyful dance. I think that these chimes are actively, this is how a bard is fighting the void today, by planting these chimes all over Runeterra and bringing like joyful, raising spirits and inspiring joyful dance. This has something to do with the void and combating it. I do think like certain things that happen on Runeterra increase the dissonance of the void, and then certain things that happen decrease it, and Bard's actively trying to decrease it, and this is one way that he's doing it. And then there's the Wandering Caretaker, a mysterious traveler from beyond the cosmos. Bard is a being of harmony and balance, whose ear is attuned to the symphony of creation and the discord within. Surrounded by a chair of peculiar creatures known as meeps, the Wandering Caretaker's curious works are celebrated in songs and stories across Runeterra. And so that's Bard, and that's his art. And you could see like this one, that's what I want to show you, the Mystic Vortex. Let me pull that up. You can see the Mystic Vortex in one of his other arts. So there he is in the bottom right. Then I see it, thousands of them. This is the Old Gaff's Tale, by the way, part 3. So apparent celestials and aspects can travel through different timelines, or is it just Bard, Zoe, and Zilean? I only know of Zoe and Zilean that I've ever seen. And Zoe, I'm like Zilean, it's not really traveling through different time. It's like, man, time is so confusing. So the way I always think of time to make it make sense to me is that when you go back in time, you're creating a new timeline, because when you go back in time, you change something, it creates like a new branch, right? Compared to if you're going forward in time, like you're continuing on that same branch. So Zilean can explore different timelines by going back and trying to do different stuff. But I've never heard of Bard going back and exploring different timelines. Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to think if I've ever seen Bard in any of his stories explore different timelines. Time is not like a small thing. I know Zilean's like the only one who really messes with time.